Hello, people who are watching Divination and Democracy. Today, I decided to take a step back and tell you a little bit about who I am, where I am, what I'm doing, and give you a little bit of backstory. And I'm also going to share one of the really wild stories, one of 100 wild stories of how I got here. So my name is Gina Maria Opalescent. I was born and raised in Wisconsin. And when I was really little, I decided that I wanted to be a foreign exchange student. I think I was 5 when I told my dad I wanted to be a foreign exchange student. And he just laughed, but it was something that was definitely in my cards. So when I was 16, I went to Nicaragua and I lived in Granada, Nicaragua. And one of the huge, gigantic things that happened there, and it just really made a mark on me, was standing on the edge of volcano Mombacho. It was so amazing. And I was really on the edge. I was so on the edge that I could see down into the volcano. There was like, I don't know, I want to call it a landing, maybe, I don't know, 250 feet down. And then further down was the lava. And I watched that lava. It's like the ocean. And it was like an ocean of fire. And I was able to stand there and watch the waves. I have a feeling it's very different now. And there's probably like fences and paths to get up there. We drove up there in a Jeep, and when the Jeep stopped, they said, get out. So we had to walk the rest of the way up, but I just absolutely loved that experience. Later, a few years later, not too many, I went to Spain, and I was there for 15 years, from 80 to 95. I got married, I had 2 kids there, etc. But my oldest child was diagnosed with autism, and I decided that I absolutely had to go back to the States. It was really, really hard to convince his dad. But the only other option was to stay in Spain and to not work and to try to get him to all the therapies that were nowhere near what was available in the United States at that point. So I am thrilled to say today he is completely independent. He has a job. He's been in school. I know he graduated from a 2-year college. He always wanted to work in graphic design. He was just very much into all the graphic video games, etc., which are totally beyond my realm. Okay. So anyway, that was Spain. And then I just made the conscious decision I had to get back here. So I came back with the 2 kids. It was crazy. It was very, very crazy. But right before I left, I want to say maybe 6 months or maybe even more before I left, I started having all of these synchronicities. And today I will tell you, synchronicity is psychic. You can quote me on that one. I don't know that I've ever heard it before, but synchronicity is definitely psychic. Okay. speed ahead to 20, I don't know, let's say 2010 or so. I moved to the Fox Valley in Wisconsin. I was way up north in Peshtigo. Moved to the Fox Valley. No, first we went to Manitowoc, sorry. Then I think it was 2011, moved to the Fox Valley. And I was there for probably 10 years before I decided. I was on the phone with a friend. She would call me every Friday afternoon when she left work, and she had a little bit of a drive to get home. And we would just yammer for like 45 minutes. And we're on the phone and talking, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I said, I don't know, I'm just ready to pack up and go to Santa Fe and just read and write and paint, and I don't know. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I went, I have no idea where that came from. So that was, it was in my subconscious, I guess. And it's really interesting because I had been here 15 years earlier. And so that was, that conversation with her. And when I was here 15 years earlier, I told my ex-husband, I don't know if we were like driving to the airport or in the airport or whatever to leave. We had been here for a week. And I said, someday I'm coming back here to live. And he was like, no, it's too hot. I don't like it. It's da 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 da. And I was like, someday I'm coming back to live in Santa Fe. And that was that. Okay. So when I told my friend I was going to come to Santa Fe, I started thinking about it. I'm like, I'm just going to see like what the job market is. It seems like New Mexico, you probably have a lot of people that speak Spanish, and that's one of the big advantages I have, speaking Spanish fluently. And I was a medical interpreter for 3 years. So, I mean, I got it going on, right, with my Spanish. So I looked around, and all of a sudden I found a job offering to work on the southern border of Texas with the unaccompanied minors. And I was like, I am there. And I applied. I talked to someone on the phone just a few days later. I told her exactly what it was going to be like to work there. And she said, can you be here next week? And I'm like, no. I have to wait to get my second COVID booster, because that was one of the requirements for that job, was to have your vaccinations. So anyway, I had to wait, and she said, when's that? And I gave her the date, and she said, when can you be here? And I gave her, I thought, 3 days. So I drove from northern Wisconsin to the very southern tip of Texas in 3 days. I tell you, I would get in, I would drive for hundreds and hundreds of miles, and then get out and sleep, right? Get out, get a hotel and sleep. Done. Anyway, so from there, I was working, and I'm a little bit of a, I don't know, like sometimes I forget that I'm a chariot driver. I don't know if you can see this if I do my dance. Oh, wait a minute, you saw my chariot in my first video. If you want to see it, go back to the beginning. It's the first one I did. You can see that I am what I call a chariot driver, because I hate it when people say, oh, she's in a wheelchair. It's like, I don't sleep in it. I don't take a shower in it. I don't go to the bathroom in it. I don't even drive in it. So there you go. I mean, I get in, I get out. If I need to move, I get in my chariot and drive. Okay. So I'm all of a sudden, going to the front gate of this place, working for the federal government, right? I'm hired for a federal contractor, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I wonder if it's going to be accessible. But that's what I do. I show up and they figure it out, right? So for 3 days, every time I had to get on the platform, and the platform was where I worked, it was where the nurses' station was, all of the classrooms were there, all of the medical stuff was there, anything the kids had to do, they had except eat. Okay, their dining room was across the street, but so they would get off the platform. But there was this huge, gigantic platform with all of these different rooms and all this stuff. And I had to get up and down this platform, and it was only 3.5 inches, because it was built on 2x4s, and 2x4s are not 2 or 4. So anyway, every time I had to get up and down, I would call this kid. Well, I don't know, he was pretty young compared to me, right? Call this guy and say, can you come and lift me? And then he would show up with 6 strong men, and they would lift me up in my chariot and get me onto the platform. Well, this went on for 3 days until the deputy director one day was standing really close, and they had all showed up, and they said, hey, Brian, lean over and lift. And he did, and about maybe 45 minutes later, he came back and he said, hey, we're changing your position. We're going to give you a computer. We're going to put you in San Antonio in a hotel for a month. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, because you just can't be here because this is not accessible. We can't have people lifting you. I'm thinking to myself, this is not right. This is for a federal contractor, and you guys have a duty and an obligation to be accessible. But anyway, I did not say that at that point. I was working on getting my ADA coordinator certification, and I wasn't quite done. So anyway, that's the story of Texas. And I worked for them for a couple of months. In the meantime, I kept thinking, I gotta get out of Texas. I hated it. Oh my God, the driving there, I don't know. There was just something about the energy that I didn't like. But when I got my computer and I'm at this hotel in Texas, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm working with all this sensitive data. These people have absolutely no idea what internet I'm hooked up to, or if it's safe, or there's no VPN on this. It was just crazy. Anyway, that's what I made my decision. I'm going to go to Santa Fe because I don't think they're going to figure this out, right? So the next day, I was doing wash, and this lady comes up to me and she's like, what are you doing here? And I said, I work for the federal government and I'm trying to get out of Texas. She goes, so what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go to Santa Fe. She's like, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to try to find a place to rent for a little while till I figure out the city and stuff. She goes, oh, I know what you need. And she gave me a website for, it's kind of like a little bit underground, I guess I would say, not very underground, but it was for traveling nurses, or mostly traveling nurses, that would stay in these really nice places that had all the, bells and whistles. And they would stay there for a few months because it was during the pandemic, okay? So I figured out how to get a place. They were all taken, and I sent a few messages out saying, I know you're booked, but just in case. And about 2 days later, I got a call from a lady and she said, hey, we were supposed to be back. My husband had a heart attack. And long and short, I rented a casita for 6 weeks. It was amazing. It was so, I loved it. And I just packed up, crossed the time zone. The computer never changed, hooked it up to her internet there for 6 weeks, got organized, got a place to live here. And the day my pod, one of those storage units where you put all your stuff until you figure out where you're going, the day my pod landed here in my apartment in Santa Fe was 15 years later to the day that we were in Santa Fe 15 years earlier. We were here 15 years earlier. I'm here now. I was the one that said I'm coming back. So anyway, welcome to my life. That's my weird story. I have hundreds of those stories. Okay, maybe next time I'll tell you about my name and how that all came about. Take care. And oh, you know what? I was going to add a couple of things. All right. And if you want to put any questions for me on the community board, okay, now I'm going to tell you a couple of my predictions, my political predictions. I have not heard anyone say this, and I'm going for it, okay? Something is wrong with Mitch McConnell. He has lost so much weight, and I got a hit that he has some kind of intestinal or probably colon cancer, and I don't know how much longer he's going to last. I may be right, I may be wrong, but something's not right. And my other prediction, and I got this a long, long time ago, and I know no one that is saying this one either, but I have said over and over and over that Trump is going to leave the United States and escape to Saudi Arabia. Now, I don't know how, I don't know when, but I don't think it's going to be too much longer. I think the heat is on, and he's going to go like on a business trip or something, and then he's just not going to come back, is what I predict. So there's two. If you have any more questions that you would like me to answer, you may post them on the community board, and I will throw some cards or tell you the first hit I get. How's that? Okay, people, thank you so much. Take care, and I will see you soon. Bye.